How do you build your hybrid rocket engine? And do you make your solid rocket engines? And if yes, what fuel and oxidizer do you use?
To make a hybrid engine, we have to start with basic assumptions, like how much weight will the rocket, how heavy the rocket will be, and how much thrust do we need, how much propellant and stuff. And then, based on those assumptions, we can calculate the geometry of the solid grain and the injector and the nozzle and stuff. Then, when we have all these calculations completed, we can actually start to make some 3D models of the rocket. And once we have all the engine completed in the virtually in the CAD software, then we start to make the technical drawings, so we can and by of course materials, so we can send those materials and those drawings to the manufacturer. And once we've got the parts ready, we need to assemble everything, see if everything that we have designed is actually correct, and if the manufacturers did some errors or no. When all of this is completed, this grain is prepared, we have the oxidizer and so on, then we can proceed to a static fire. And the static fire is this moment where we know for sure that our engine works or not. And if it doesn't work, usually it takes a few tweaks to make it work better. And that's after the static fire, that's basically the moment when the engine is completed. As for the solid rocket, yes, we do our own solid rocket motors, and we are using basically our rocket candy, the potassium nitrate and sorbate.
So you use sugar and potassium nitrate?
Yes, that's right.
Yes, I also do solid rocket engines like that with sugar and potassium nitrate.
Yeah, that's the cheapest type of solid grain.
Are you currently working on new types of engines like liquid-fueled rocket engines, or are you sticking to solid and hybrid?
We are working on the liquid rocket engine. To be honest, we tested it. We built it and tested it, like the small version, 100 newtons. And right now we are designing the bigger rocket engine for 3000 newtons of thrust. The engine runs on nitrous oxide, like the hybrids, and the fuel is right now ethanol. But after the tests, it may change because we are during the test campaign with our liquid rocket engine.
How do you design the engines?
For every engine, the beginning is the same. You have to take some assumptions and calculate the main components. Like it changes with hybrid that you have to calculate the grain, and in the liquid you don't have to calculate the grain, but you have to calculate the heat flux, because it is one of the most important things. So like the core of designing the engine is the same. The things that you care the most about change a bit.
How much harder is it to build a hybrid rocket than a liquid-fueled rocket?
You can't really compare that because it depends really much on the special type of engine. Like, I mean, if you want to make a big with long duration hybrid rocket engine, it will be much harder than short burn duration liquid rocket engine. So I don't think you can really compare it that way. But generally, it is considered that the solid rocket engines are the easiest, hybrid are a bit harder, and liquid are the hardest. The main thing you have to care about in liquid fuel engine is the heat flux, which in hybrids you don't really care during the short burn. In liquid you always have to take it into account. In hybrid with short burns you don't have to. Later on with long burns you have to take care about it, and it's much harder to mitigate that than in liquids, because you have solid fuel that and you can't regeneratively cool the engine. You have to ablatively or another way. And as for the solids, it is the easiest mainly because you don't have to mix anything. Like in the liquid, there is also problem with mixing oxidizer and the fuel. In hybrid, there is also no such a problem. You have to inject the oxidizer like the most effectively, but you don't have the problem with mixing it. And in solids, there is no such a problem. So every engine has its own problems, to be honest.